Hey, it's Deborah Atkinson with Flipping 50 TV and host of the Flipping 50 podcast, doing some myth busting. And if you think that first thing in the morning is the best time to exercise, stay tuned. So for the next few weeks, I'm going to do some myth busting every day. And if you've got a question or you've got something that everybody else seems to believe in, but you're not quite sure, trust your gut and ask me. Just drop it in the comments down below or email us at deborah@flipping50.com. So we're starting with first thing in the morning is the best time to exercise. Often that's what's said, and the follow-up to that is, well, the best time to exercise is the time that you will exercise, right? That's the kind of one or two answers that you get really quickly. Well, I'm going to tell you why first thing in the morning is not absolutely the best time, not absolutely first time, and here's why. You need to be up for about an hour before you exercise if you want to reduce your risk of back pain or a back injury. Predominantly, we're talking about disc rupture. And here's how you'll know. You won't. The problem is a ruptured disc doesn't give you any warning signals. So it's nothing to do with feeling a little stiff in the morning. And some of you may say, well, I do feel that way, so maybe that is a good idea. It's not even something you'll feel. So if you feel fit and healthy and you love to jump out of bed in the morning and do those workouts, you still are vulnerable. So it has nothing to do with how fit or how conditioned or how underweight or right weight or overweight you are. It does have a little something to do with how large your bones are. So if you have a larger, thicker frame, and one way to tell is just take your fingers, wrap them around your wrist, and if they touch or they overlap, if they touch your average, if they overlap your smaller frame, but if there's a gap between your fingers, they can't actually touch, you probably got a larger frame. But you also are probably slightly larger type person, style person, and you've known that your whole life. This isn't new news. You're more at risk, so larger size boned people. What's going on is your vertebrae are stacked up, but in between those vertebrae you have discs. And what a slipped disc is, it's not quite fitting right where it should. And a ruptured disc is when there's too much pressure, and it happens easily when we do anything, and often it's doing nothing. You could drop a pin, reach down and grab it, and that could do it. It can also happen while you're doing things like shoveling and doing housework, walking a big dog, and you get pulled and jerked. Anything can cause it. So there are two types of movements and not movements that actually cause it. We call it moment pressure and movement pressure. Movement is easy. It just means if you were to go running or walking or jogging, if you were to do weightlifting or elliptical training or bicycling, all of those, even though there's minimal movement during some of them, even swimming, are movement. But some of them also employ what we call moment pressure, where you're bracing yourself. So you might say, well, when I'm doing yoga or if I'm doing core work, I'm doing a plank, I'm not moving my spine, so that would be okay. Not true. That's what we call moment pressure. So you're braced. Those muscles are braced, and there's moment pressure there. So when you're vacuuming, if you know someone in your family or you yourself has had a hysterectomy, when you are recovering from that, you're not supposed to vacuum because it puts a lot of pressure on your abdominal wall. Likewise, if you've had a C-section, you're not supposed to lift anything beyond probably 5 pounds for a long time, 10 pounds for a longer time. And the same is true of vacuuming, shoveling, plank position, doing yoga. And honestly, yoga can be one of the worst things, because one of the worst things is called BLT, when you bend, you lift, and you twist at the same time. That happens a lot in certain yoga poses, right? So no exercise for about an hour. Now the good news is those discs are plumped up overnight, because when we're upright, just the effect of gravity kind of squashes us. You're taller first thing in the morning than you are later, and a lot of it is because of the discs. But about an hour after you rise, 90% of that intra pressure between the discs dissipates. So you're much safer and there's much less pressure inside. So it's like those balloons are all blown up and the pressure between your vertebrae is great for about an hour. It starts to dissipate, and all you have to do to make it go away is be upright. So you're sitting, reading, or reading, journaling, having a cup of coffee, relaxing, meditating, taking a little time to yourself, and then your exercise can start in about an hour. So if you tend to get ready, you're gonna drive to some place to exercise, and the commute is gonna take you 15-20 minutes or half an hour. Just be up about a half an hour before you go. When you arrive, you'll be ready to go. So that's for you to be a critical thinker. Now you may think, well, I don't feel anything, I don't feel bad, I'm not going to do that because if I have to wait an hour, I can't get it done. I totally get you. I understand. That is a buzzkill, right? If you were struggling to get it in, now you've got a habit of doing it right away, and I'm telling you, you can't. But all you've got now is just more information. So you can be a critical thinker about whether or not you want to abide by that and try to prevent back pain. Because the problem with a disc problem, just to repeat myself, is you don't feel it coming. It's not something you're going to feel a little tight and a little stiff for. You're not going to have some soreness, and that's an indication you should back off. It just will happen just like that. So just to let you know, be up for about an hour, and after that, you're good to go. And I'll see you for the next tip. But if the back is something that interests you, and this tip was specifically kind of hit home, tune in for tip number 2, because it's going to be along the same lines. And I'll see you on the flip side.